Berserker Maine. This is Lightning Fires.
Lightning Fires, Berserker Maine, ready to receive fire mission.
I'm Major Luke Meyer. I'm the S3 Battalion Operations Officer for the 2-300th Field Artillery Regiment. We deployed in the summer of 2024. Since then, we organized into what is known as Task Force Lightning, which is the only long-range precision fires in United States Central Command. And we're operating out of 5 countries, including Jordan, Iraq, Syria, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. Fun fact about the battalion staff is that every staff primary, to include the battalion commander, is a graduate of the University of Wyoming Army ROTC program. The only staff primary that is not a graduate of the University of Wyoming Army ROTC program was an in-theater extension from Kentucky, who since being with us has been selected to be the HHC 960th commander and become a member of the Wyoming Army National Guard. This is something I've wanted to do my entire life, ever since I was about 6 years old. So, realization of a dream for me. Proud to be here, serve my country as a member of the Wyoming Army National Guard. Powder River, let her buck.
Alpha 0307 shot. Alpha 0307 rounds complete.
Lightning Fires out.
This is Shadowcast Radio.
Welcome back, family and friends, for another episode of Shadowcast Radio with your host, Owen Brazington.
Preston Ackerman.
Nathan Brazington.
And we have one other close friend and family with us today.
Will Cornell.
Amen.
Will Cornell. Yep. Pastor Will Cornell. He's
Pastor
with
Will.
us today. You probably would recognize Will. He's been on a number of podcasts with us, and he's one of our favorite hosts. And so we always are very thankful that you're willing to come on. And
Favorite guest.
yes,
Unless he wants to be a host.
It's a tremendous privilege to be here, boys.
Thanks, brother.
thank
Love you
you.
guys.
So we've been talking about this episode actually for a number of weeks, have really looked forward to it. And of course, when you were gone, that was a key point where we kept on stressing with our listeners that we were really excited for when we were going to be able
I'm
to have
almost
this.
certain we mentioned your name multiple times in episodes and things like that, just in prayer, in terms of intercession, things like that. And looking forward to your return. And though you've been back for a little while now, we've been planning out an episode of a kind of a return from deployment and the chance to kind of share your story a little bit with us. Because we've had you on before to share your duties as far as being a military chaplain, right? And so now this is kind of like boots to the floor, literally, like overseas deployment. What did that look like? And so, Will, thank you so much for being willing to come on and to share a little bit of some of these stories of your deployment. Just thank you for coming on, brother.
It's my joy.
You feel like you've had a chance to settle back in, and how long has that routine been from the day you got back to feel like you've now acclimated back to civilian life?
Yeah, so returned back on about the beginning of June, and didn't really get back in the saddle in terms of ministry at the church full time until the very end of June. So I had most of a month just to kind of spend time with family, go on vacation, kind of that R&R period. And here we are, looking mid-August in the face. And I guess I realized, I talked to a bunch of soldiers who had been deployed previously, and they're like, expect a year before you feel like things are back to normal. And so I was kind of just setting my expectations for that. But I realized this last week, I think I told you, Preston, that for me to get back into military mode again, to be in uniform and go back into that, if I were to try to go back to that tomorrow, that would actually feel more foreign to me than what this is. Because I did feel like a foreigner in my own home to get back right away. Oh, yeah. But now that world again seems foreign. So I feel like that's a good marker for good reintegration.
Yeah, for acclimation back.
Yeah.
Man,
that's good.
I'm glad to hear that. That's a huge blessing, I'm sure.
Praise God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Lord was kind to definitely sustain our church and as far as, the ministry that we had and having plenty of volunteers, are preaching well to preach on Sundays. I mean, we have an abundance of resources and riches as far as our church is concerned. And we're grateful to God in his work that he did during your deployment. But man, we're so grateful to
thanks
have
to
you
all
back
of
as well.
all three of you, filling in the gap in terms of the preaching well. That was a huge portion of it. You guys and other men in our church that really stepped up to the plate and couldn't have done it without that.
Yeah. So praising God for that.
Yeah. Very thankful. It was a blessing too, to be able to,
I
don't know about you, Pete, but I really enjoyed that, and it was a challenge for me. I grew a lot spiritually. I know that as well.
Kind of developing your craft of teaching too. Yeah.
Whenever you have to prep a sermon, you make sure you're prepared, and it challenges you to dive deeper than you probably would just in your regular readings.
Yeah,
that's good, man.
For sure. And I think that's an important thing for any church body is raising up more men of God and women of God. And we were kind of thrust into it, but I think it's a really healthy thing. So I'm thankful.
Good word.
But before we jump into our discussion to see how things went for Will overseas and the ministry work that he was involved in.
There's an accomplishment that happened recently.
Oh, snap. That's right.
So
what was
somebody finished their seminary work recently.
Praise the Lord.
So just rejoicing with you, brother.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you guys.
Excited, man.
Wait, what happened?
So final assignments have been turned in for my degree. And so by God's grace, I'll know in a few weeks, but assuming nothing goes crazy, I'll be done with school for now anyways. Yeah. And if Jer asks, it's forever. Don't worry.
But give her a few weeks. Then,
no. But
she'll need longer time integrating back into that than will need integrating back into the United States. So.
For sure. No, it's been great though, and we're looking forward to the next chapter, whatever that is. But really pouring into the family as far as these boys. We have multiple teenage boys knocking on the door here, and so really trying to invest in them. Man. And awesome. Walk with them into this life transition, I think, is going to be a big part of it.
Good, man. That's been a long journey, and I've seen how much you've really put into that, Pete. And it's just, I'm so thankful God has helped you to the finish line, and proud of you for the amount of effort you've done. Because I know there's an element of there's many ways you can give, but I feel like your completion of this degree has been a gift as well, because now what you have learned, you've applied in your teaching and your preaching as well. And the body of Christ will benefit greatly from that. So I see that as an act of service to the Lord as well.
So that's really good. And so in honoring your accomplishment, we got something for you. It's down by your feet there. Oh, you want to grab that?
Oh,
got a little, got a nice little,
literally got a little present.
We talked to the warehouse team and we said, what can we do for our co-host?
Let's see if those guys.
I said, make it
Christmas
happen.
came early.
Let's see what we got here. Wow, look, this is like professionally wrapped. All right, here we go. Okay. Oh man. What?
What is that?
All right. So for the audience, hopefully
Shadow
you can
and
see this.
flame.
This is something that I actually had my eye on because it's amazing. This is a bookend of the Balrog and Gandalf. What an epic
Showdown
scene.
in
Oh my
Mines of
goodness.
Moria.
Yep.
So you can display it or you can push it together as a book,
Yeah.
as a bookend type situation. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys.
Of course,
It's
brother.
You guys are
That's
we
cool.
clearly have a Lego theme going on in the show, but I'm here for it. I love it. I love
Good,
it.
good.
Thank you guys. That is so kind. I'm so excited about that.
Good. I can't wait to see
Oh
you
my
when it gets
goodness.
put up. And yeah,
Maybe we need to
be
put
cool.
that near somewhere where it's in view there for the.
I like it.
camera.
And another
Thank you,
side
guys.
note,
I'll just set it down for
All right.
Preacher P, don't you have an announcement regarding some school?
Yeah. So as Brother Nathan has finished school at Western, I will be starting at Western here in a few weeks.
That's
Actually,
awesome.
so
Excited.
excited to get started.
That's good.
So you're going to test out of a few classes, right? Because you have God has blessed you with some pretty good extensive learning going in. So hopefully that'll shorten it up just a little bit.
Yeah, hoping
Correct.
so.
Yep.
I'll take a few exams and see if I can receive advanced standing in some of those classes on
Yeah.
topics that I feel pretty competent in, and so that'll I'm allowed. I think it's something like a few. There's a certain number of days I'm allowed to decide on like those tests, taking those tests from the beginning of when I start seminary.
Gotcha.
So I've got a little bit of time to
Got a
continue to
window.
decide. So I'll pick classes I know I want to take,
Awesome.
beginning this semester. So
And then you're nearing the finish line as well, right?
Yes.
Pete?
Capstone course. Lord willing, I'll be done December 15th. So
Man.
I would covet your prayers. I just got to
coming up.
write a final series of papers
Gotcha.
and go from there.
Will, you going to be starting your PhD sometimes here soon?
There'll be no
or-
PhD in the future.
We'll see.
A DMin,
Oh,
perhaps,
okay.
but
Okay.
not a PhD.
Good.
It's
THM.
on. So you're saying there's a chance. That's right. Does Carm know yet? That's my question.
She knows. She knows it's on
We're
the
going to see if she
radar.
listens.
Yeah.
This is how she finds
This
out.
is a test.
No, I will say though, Will has really led the way in this. Really, I remember all the
Yeah.
years that you put in
Yeah.
going through school with family, with doing ministry in the church, and that really set the standard. And I also, for myself and probably others, it was like, okay, this can be done.
Oh, yeah.
It may not be easy or pretty all the time, but it can be done. And,
Yeah.
and I know there are currently others actually considering. You know who you are. We're praying. We're praying you go for it, but we'll see.
There you go.
That's good. I know there's been a number of times, Will, I really appreciate. I've reached out and talked to you about school and classes, and you really provide some great recommendations. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
And even just the rich fruit of Will's ministry too. I was
Absolutely.
for 0 Hour especially. I was even talking with a few of the adults who take 0 Hour, and they're really looking forward to it. We were talking of the theme of temple this last Wednesday, temple, priest, and our kids knew the material really well. Every time I asked a question, they had a biblical theological answer for it. I was blown away by that. And so I think we have a pretty high standard in terms of the theology that started our church. And that's a direct result of, Will, your investment in terms of seminary and your care for theological training from the teenage age and upward. So just deeply grateful. God is good.
It's good.
Thank you.
Well, before we jump in finally, I cannot neglect our tradition in the sense that we always have that question of the app. Yeah. So whose turn was it?
It is your turn.
It's my turn.
Which you knew you knew good and well.
He just wanted the serve.
Before you ever asked
All
the
right.
question, you
Just
knew.
just coming up off the top of my head.
Boss.
Okay, I'm going to randomly pick to your right. You get to make a playlist, a song playlist for the person to your right. Whenever they work out, there are 3 artists that are on the playlist. And for the rest of their life, whenever they do any exercise of any type, they have to listen to these 3 artists. Who do you pick?
Oh my goodness. This is going to be so brutal.
I will go first.
You clearly have put in some legit thought.
I
All
think in an effort to help Preston branch out for his taste,
Oh no.
number one, Inya.
Oh, I knew, dude. I was seriously thinking that right before you said it.
So you're
Give him
dunking on,
grits.
you're dunking
Give him
on your
grits.
friends.
No,
you're not,
no.
You're not setting them up.
Yeah. I
The
see.
last one will be good. Number two, Kenny G.
Oh.
And then number three, because I know
Oh man.
you've really kind of worked to advance this artist, Creed.
That's an eclectic group of tastes there, man.
Wow.
So,
Like it.
Hold on. So the first one you said was Enya?
Inya.
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
Oh boy.
Well, you are in for a treat.
Okay.
that does show your age.
I know
Plays
Kenny
a
G's
jewel
the
girl.
saxophone guy, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You.
Okay. Some saxophone, jazz adjacent, and then Creed.
And Creed.
That's what a workout.
Oh man.
All right. Will, I'm not gonna. I feel like I want to set you up for
Be kind
success
to me?
here.
Okay.
Wait. Well, here's a question. So, are you do you like to listen to when you work out? Is there a specific taste in music, or is it essentially just the same that you like in music in general?
I would say holy hip hop.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking I would probably give you Andy Mineo.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Andy.
Good looking out.
That's good.
Yeah, Andy's good. Give you some Andy. Maybe I'll give you Skillet, so that way you have some more of kind of the rock elements there.
Mm.
And then for the third, maybe I'll give you some Tim Brindle. Shout out Tim Brindle.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's an
okay. That's a
excellent.
good
That way you
All right.
learn
Wow.
a little bit.
There you go.
Learn
I'll
and
take
lift.
it.
Okay.
I'll take it.
That's a
Learn
great-
and lift.
Learn and lift.
I like it. I like it. Well, I think I'm going to mix it up a little bit, on the fun side for my brother
There it
Nathan
is.
here.
All right.
I'm going to start off with some gospel gangstas,
Oh,
right?
Hey,
like
I'll
that's
take it. I'll take it,
it way
man.
back.
Yeah. I'll
And
take it.
honestly, when I think of Nathan back in the days of rocking his Timbs and the jeans
yeah, the
shorts
Timber.
and
Yep. Yep.
I'm going to go with cross movement.
Okay.
Okay.
Some
Hey,
cross movement.
I'm for that
And-
so
yeah,
far.
and
That's
I-
great.
This is something I know you already listen to because my son knows lyrics from NF
okay.
Oh,
Yep.
that I'm not.
Dude, you
super
took care of
familiar
me.
with.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's good.
I'm starting to feel
I-
guilty.
yeah.
You better give me some bad ones.
I'm gonna go make that playlist.
Oh, the piper gets paid.
Oh,
we'll work
yeah.
out together.
That way you get six artists.
That way you have to listen to Kenny G.
There it is. Oh, dude, Inya. Oh man. Okay. Let's see. We're gonna give you. I'm gonna give you one. The soundtrack to Skyrim.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
okay.
It's not
pretty
necessarily good for working out, but I know you love it, so I'm gonna give you one you
Working
love.
out your brain.
Yes.
Yep.
Then we're gonna go from. We'll give you some Demon Hunter for like
Oh boy.
max pump. Max pump.
I can see the gains already.
I know. I saw the veins pop a little when
There it
you
is.
said that.
Yeah, my arms started twitching.
So, but here's the kicker. It's going to be random, like random selection or whatever. So it can go from Demon Hunter to who sang the Mbop song. Mbop, Mbop, Bop, boo. Is that Jonas Brothers or something?
that was who was that?
I can't.
Is it
even remember.
Jackson 5?
No. That's a
Whoever sang that?
Only Mbop.
Just that's. I just love that transition going from Demon Hunter to that.
Where was that hiding in your brain?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't even know who sang that. But
That's great.
Wow.
that's the one for you.
I
All right. I don't want to. I don't know if I want to partner with you.
I don't.
I do
In
want
terms
you
of
guys
this.
to partner because it's gonna be
A few of us
You
won't
have
be
to share
working out
music.
anymore.
Oh.
So, man, that's
a
was
good
fun.
question.
Thank you guys.
well done.
That was
That's a fun question.
Well done.
Well, let's jump in and get to what we've been waiting for. I know our audience has been waiting for this as well. And so, man, praise God. It's a blessing, brother, to have you back.
We rejoice that you're back, brother.
Yeah. We've missed you from abroad, close brother and friends. So,
So Will gave a little bit of we spent a Sunday evening listening to Will give a talk on everything that he did. Well, not everything that he did, but kind of summarizing his duties to our church. And I thought it would be good to catalog this too in a way whereby if people didn't attend, they could sort of still get a sense of what happened. And so I just want to hand over the floor to you, Pastor Will. So this is free conversation. You have the liberty to share whatever you would like. And then at any time also too, we can maybe ask questions, but maybe just give a brief summary of what you do aside from being a pastor at our church, and then kind of what you did.
So I've been a soldier since 1997. So this is my 28th year in the Army. So I've been a soldier longer than I've been a Christian.
That's wild.
Longer than I've done anything in my life. So wearing the uniform is just part of my DNA. But my latest post is for the last 7 years of my military career, I have been a U.S. Army chaplain in the Wyoming National Guard. Prior to that, I was a chaplain's assistant. So I've been in unit ministry, what we call a UMT, unit ministry team. I've been in that vein for since about 2005. So about 20 years of that, and some other things previous to that. But yeah, so most recently was on a deployment beginning. I went on what's called Title 10 orders, an active duty military service for a deployment to the CENTCOM, Central Command Area of Operations in the Middle East. So our unit was on a rotation to go over there and support. I'm a part of the 2nd of the 300th Field Artillery Regiment, which is the only long-range precision fires group in the United States Central Command. We were part of what was called Task Force Lightning over there. So our unit with the 2nd of the 300th Field Artillery Regiment consists of what's called the HIMARS. It's a high mobility artillery rocket system. Essentially, it's surface to surface rockets. So it's not your traditional tube artillery. It's rockets. And so, although I can't say exactly what our mission was over there, what we were thwarting and whatever, you can probably put the pieces together to figure that out.
And that's a pretty in-demand delivery system, correct?
It certainly is. If you follow anything in terms of what we're trying to help other countries with, our allies, usually that's at the top of their Christmas list of the weapon system that they want.
Yeah.
So
the way it works, right, is there's like states will send out, and the rotation is on a state by state basis. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. In terms of the National Guard, for sure, there's the United States military cannot operate without its reserve component, and so within the reserve component, you have National Guard, which is, we wear two hats, Title 32, which is run by the state. So we have two sort of commanders in chief, namely that state's governor, as well as we can be activated for federal service by the commander in chief, namely the President of the United States. So, but then you also have the United States Army Reserve, which is 100% a federal entity, right? So they're there on a reserve status. They can be activated as well, but they're not serving a state like we would be in the National Guard.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So.
Okay, gotcha. And they kind of rotate on sort of an annual basis, right? But you're deployed formally for around 9 months.
Yeah. So my deployment was somewhere around 10 months once it was all said and done. In terms of the activation, turning around, there's, you have to be validated before you go overseas. There's a standard which every unit has to meet before they can go. Do you know your job? Can you meet the Army standards? Whether that's from a staff level, to coordinate all that's going to be involved with the mission, producing orders, this kind of thing. the intelligence, the soldier administration, unit ministry, part of that. So there are exercises that take place before we go overseas to make sure we're on the same page according to the Army standard.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so within your career, you had been deployed before, but as a soldier. Is that correct?
Well, still a soldier, but I have been mobilized in the past. I did spend a time in my active duty service in Korea. That was very early on.
What is there a distinction between? I guess
the term deployment is a little bit vague, a little nebulous.
What's the difference between like a chaplain and then a soldier who bears arms and who fights?
So yeah, chaplains are non-combatants. We don't.
So a non-combatant.
Yeah, we're non-combatant status. Your rank and file soldier is in a different Geneva Convention category, so they are combatants. I'm one of the few that is a non-combatant, and so consequently, I have what used to be known as a chaplain assistant who is like my shotgun. And I had a tremendous, we call them religious affairs specialists now, but they're one of their key duties is safeguarding their chaplain. So I had one of the best marksmen in our entire battalion as my religious affairs specialist.
So how are those selected? Are they just, do you choose your assistant or are they just assigned? Like what's
they're
the criteria?
assigned to you.
Okay.
So that can either be the biggest blessing in your ministry as a chaplain, or it can be the biggest burden. Sometimes in the active duty component, unfortunately, units will want to send the bad kids, as it were, for the chaplain to fix them, and that can be a real struggle for chaplains. They're supposed to be a force multiplier, and sometimes they really aren't. But on this deployment, I don't know where I would have been without mine.
Yeah. What percentage of the Army National Guard in Wyoming was deployed? It wasn't every soldier, I'm assuming, right?
No, it was a large swath. So this was the first time. This was one of the largest deployments that we've had in the Wyoming Guard for some time. The Wyoming Guard deploys a lot. We have a lot of assets for a small state, but this was the first time that the 2nd of the 300th Field Artillery that has been deployed as an artillery unit, and that's kind of our flagship unit within the state since the Korean War on a field artillery mission. So this was a big deal, very high visibility. From the Secretary of the Army down, like we were on their radar. That's cool. And we were commended at that level. Our state's governor and adjutant general got a phone call from the Army Chief of Staff's office to commend this very unit, Task Force Lightning, for their performance on this deployment.
Wow, so that's awesome! Talk about doing your job to the glory of God, with excellence. That is really cool.
That's awesome, man. And so, how many religious affairs personnel do they send? So how many chaplains, or maybe chaplains?
So I was the lone chaplain. So the way the force structure works is that at every battalion level, there is a chaplain and a religious affairs specialist or chaplain assistant. So, and then it goes up from there to the brigade level, and then to the division level. And beyond.
So you were the sole chaplain, you said, right?
I was the sole chaplain for this battalion. Now, there are a number of battalions, brigades, and whatever, obviously in the central command area. And they're all the different forces over there, from there's Army, Air Force, there's Navy and the Marines, there's Space Force, ran into some Space Force cats over there too. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is interesting.
And the 3-letter agencies that run into.
I'm sure. So one thing that was really helpful, I felt like Preston mentioned for our church body, was when you just kind of shared, like, what did ministry look like in that capacity? Because it's obviously different than pastoral ministry in a home church setting. So can you just walk us through a little bit of that, what ministry looked like, what God was doing through you there?
Sure. That's a great question. So I would say typically when I tell people about this deployment, what that looks like from the vantage point of the foxhole of the chaplain is it's a lot of travel. I was in 8 different countries. Our unit specifically operated out of 5 different countries, out of Jordan, Iraq, Syria, Kuwait, and United Arab Emirates. But I spent time in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Syria, and Iraq. If I tell people that if I wasn't traveling on this deployment, I was either recovering from travel or preparing for my next trip. So, in 9 months going to all those different places, you're doing a lot
That's
of
a
travel,
lot.
and it's travel by military aircraft. The Graytail,
It's not.
C-130s.
it's grueling. The travel can be a little bit grueling. I mean, it's still first world problems, first world military problems, but it's not business class or even.
They're not serving peanuts.
Yeah. So got to travel via what we call Graytail, mostly C-130s, Chinook helicopters, Black Hawk helicopters.
Wow.
Out of those, what do you prefer?
The Chinook was really cool.
Yeah.
Watching, traveling across, Iraq and into Syria and seeing the Euphrates, and that was just really
That's
cool.
awesome.
It's just a video reel that will play over and over in my mind again and again.
Well, one of the
Super
interesting things
epic.
about where you were deployed is that like where you're at is sort of the hub of the location of the biblical story.
It really is.
And so you're familiar with a lot of these scenes from scripture.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like I think I made a joke about you going to go visit, Ur of the Chaldeans, like where Abraham was at, right? And like that's the area that you're at.
It really was. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do much sightseeing. If we were going, when I was traveling via the rotary wing aircraft, typically that was to an outstation that's like at a forward operating base. I can't say exactly where, but in some of those places, that's where we're headed. But then as a chaplain, once I get there, I'm not going out on foot patrols or this kind of thing.
Sure.
I'm not going outside the wire. During Operation Iraqi Freedom and so forth, when we had, when we're in Iraq and we're in Afghanistan, whatever, we had what were called, we referred to them more as forward operating bases. And so the people that didn't get off much, they called them FOBITs, because, they're behind the wire. And for the most part, that's what I was. A lot of people have in their minds the fact that I'm out there dodging bullets and, walking through minefields and this sort of thing. And that's simply not the case.
Sure.
Not that we weren't in danger. In today's day and age, so much of the threat comes from UAVs, comes from indirect fire in terms of artillery or rockets or, ballistic missiles, this kind of thing. So we did bunker up a lot. We spent a lot of time in bunkers, depending on where you were. So,
And so you would travel a lot, but why would you travel a lot?
Thanks for getting me back on track there. Battlefield circulation. So it's what we call in the unit ministry world as ministry of presence. So just going to spend time with the soldiers, continue to build those relationships with them, spend time with them, get to know their stories, spark up conversations. Myself and my religious affairs specialist would do that, as well as going out whenever I would go out and offer services as a Christian chaplain. We had a large contingent of Christians out there. And so I would offer services wherever I would go, and, communion, Bible studies, this kind of thing. So.
Yeah.
What does your role look like with leadership teams?
Yeah. So for the leadership team, in terms of my responsibilities, they said that when we talk about chaplains, our main job is to provide religious support and to advise the command. So anything that relates to troop morale, relates to like ethical concerns, morals, things, anything that would relate to a religious area impact assessment. We're in a part of the world that is steeped in, the Islamic worldview. I'm called upon to be the subject matter expert in those areas, and then advise the command based upon those things, and then advise the command based upon what our leaders are doing, how soldiers are being treated, what's the troop morale looking like, how are we going to handle reintegrating our soldiers once they're back? How are we going to handle soldiers who get a Dear John letter in the midst of their deployment? Yeah. We had a number of divorces while we were away. That's just statistically, we know those things are going to happen. And so a chaplain runs into that pretty frequently. And I didn't have a behavioral health officer there for the first few months on ground. And so you become, as the chaplain, with some degree of training and counseling, you become the de facto counselor at that point. So,
yeah. So one thing that I thought was kind of cool, Will, that you shared with me even prior to all of this is there's basically like a sponsorship program where you get backed by a formal church organization that permits you to be able to practice the specifics of your worldview.
Yes.
And not have to compromise that in terms of just being generically religious, right?
Sure.
Like you're allowed to practice Christianity as a Christian chaplain.
Absolutely. So as it pertains to my role as a religious professional, and I cringe when I hear that terminology. I think we all would. There are no professional Christians, right? But I am endorsed by a conservative Baptist endorser, so that they outline what my left and right limits are as far as what I can share, how I can counsel, who I can counsel with, and this kind of thing. So yes, it is patently biblical, from the biblical, conservative, biblical, Orthodox worldview. And so as I'm ministering is my capacity as a chaplain to provide religious support, like services and sacraments and different rites. They know that what I can offer and what I can't, right? And so my job then for those soldiers who come from a different worldview is to I continue to provide but not perform for them. So I find another chaplain who can provide in the way that they need, perform in the way that they would need.
That makes sense.
Gotcha.
Going into this, do you feel like there was anything that really prepped you for your ministry that you were going to be involved in while you're here?
Sure. I always tell people that being a pastor makes me a better chaplain, and being a chaplain makes me a better pastor. The year leading up to the deployment, I think providentially, I was a part of training called, maybe some of your listeners are familiar with, clinical pastoral education, referred to as CPE, which is, a lot of chaplains institutionally work in places like prisons and hospitals and this kind of thing, minister to a large swath of folks, and there's a strong counseling focus in that.
Yep.
And so I had that training the year leading up. And so in terms of my counseling that I encountered, which was especially at the very beginning, a big part of what I did, that equipped me well to be able to minister to folks who lost a loved one back home, or, like I said, they were in the throes of a divorce or a breakup, or grieving something, or wrestling through, I'm afraid because we're bunkering up each night,
right.
this kind of thing. So.
Yeah, it's really cool hearing about just how your advisement role to the command staff, and then looking at your ministry to the everyday soldier, as far as you mentioned the services and a lot of counseling. And you mentioned the sacraments. I was just wondering, could you give them a verbal picture of your baptismal or your baptism?
I'd be interested to hear
because
that.
it was so. Pastor Will shared a picture of this with the church body, and it was really great. I loved it. Can you tell them what?
Yeah, that's
was?
a fun story. So I did have the joy of baptizing a couple of soldiers on the deployment, and there was a baptistry in front of where we were stationed there in Kuwait. There was a baptistry in front of like kind of an expeditionary tent that was in really poor shape, disrepair, and I didn't want to fill that up and have someone baptism experience be in this big, ugly looking thing. And it is just a kind of a monstrosity. And so I had heard that from a previous unit that they had taken some of the rockets that we fire, some of what we call the rocket pods, and they're in kind of a rectangular cage, these rocket pods, and so what we did is we put 4 of them in sort of a rectangular shape, and put a tarp in the middle of it, filled that thing up with thousands of gallons of water, put in the logistical request for that water, had it filled up, and in the hot Arab sun, it heated it up just to kind of room temperature pretty quick, and we had a baptism.
So cool.
In the midst of a bunch of rocket pods. Wow. It was very, we were all in uniform. So there's no question like that. It's an indelible memory for the folks that were a part of that. It was really fun to be a part of.
What a cool picture of that done to the glory of God,
Yeah, that is really
super cool.
So, so it seems to me you had opportunities as far as evangelism is concerned to share the gospel.
Sure.
And then to have these baptisms, and that's just wonderful. Did you also see discipleship too, with certain soldiers, or because I know if you're always on the move, it maybe was tough to have like solid discipleship, or were you stationed at a place for a little while? Like, well, can you paint the picture of what discipleship looked like?
Yeah. So my trips, I made mention of the frequent travel there. I was always coming back to sort of a home base. And so I'd try to work around a schedule. When I got there, the place where my main base was in Kuwait. There were a number of chaplains on post there already. And a couple of larger chapels. And so I thought my chances of having some kind of midweek ministry were probably pretty slim. But as it turned out, when I showed up there, I found out that Wednesday nights were open at our local chapel that I served in. I was on a preaching rotation there as well. But we virtually every week I was able to get back and have a midweek study. We called it 66 books. And we just, it ended up being an Old Testament survey because I was a little more zealous than, I was thinking that I'd be able to get through the whole thing in these 9 months. And I think we got through some of the minor prophets, didn't quite close out the 39 books of the Old Testament, but we were shooting for the stars on that. At any rate, that turned into a real, a big vehicle for, soldier on soldier discipleship, not just myself, but my religious affairs specialist. We had opportunity to, people that over there for the rank and file soldier, they had a lot more free time than I did, than certain staff folks did. There's certain jobs that you have that you're working a lot, but then there are other soldiers that don't have an awful lot going on. And so they try to fill up their week to break up the monotony of the deployment. They're doing one of a few things. A lot of them are just getting ripped, right? They're going to the gym, they're making gains, or they're taking on some classes. There's some, distance learning options that they can take on over there, or some kind of hobby, they're volunteering at a USO, these kinds of things to keep their minds off of being away from family and this kind of stuff. Some soldiers just sit in their room or in their barracks and just play video games. But, folks are looking for things to do. And so we had people signing up to come and be a part of a Bible study that normally wouldn't darken the door of a church. And really like kind of cultural Christians that are like aware of but just exploring their faith. And they show up and they're hearing the gospel for the first time. Wow, and the word of God is just opening them up to, I saw God change hearts over there, and just even soldiers looking toward full-time vocational ministry after having spent a time there.
That's cool.
And giving their lives over to the Lord. We had, as I mentioned, we had some baptisms, but we had some folks that probably could have been baptized, that had really, had been born again over there. I could totally see that. And that's just that's what it's all about. That's why I haven't laid the rucksack down, because of opportunities like that.
Man, that's so cool.
Are you having some ongoing opportunity with any of those any of those people as well?
Yeah. So we get 90. Good question, Nathan. We have 90 days off from any kind of drill status from the time we get home until our first, what they call yellow ribbon event when we return in September. But I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of those folks again. And, you know, I've been texting back and forth with a lot of them, making connections, just staying on top of how they're doing, that kind of thing. But I look forward to seeing them face to face. So yeah, a lot of soldiers are in the Guard, especially, are career soldiers. So these are relationships that I built that will be ongoing, and
awesome.
you know, I'll continue to have a voice into their lives as a mentor and this kind of thing.
So,
Well, and
awesome.
I have been thinking about how it's cool how God has blessed you with a reach or a circle that is very diverse, where you're dealing with mature Christians in many aspects, and then you also have an opportunity to share with even the atheist, and it's a very wide variety of people that God has put in your realm of influence. And so I'm just so thankful for that, because it challenges you, I'm sure, to where you have to change your approaches accordingly with the crowds that you're with.
Oh, certainly.
And so
yeah,
I think that's pretty neat.
that's a good observation.
Yeah, that dual ministry is really, really a cool thing. And honestly, we're all called to ministry no matter what we're doing, right? As we go, whatever we're doing. But it is pretty neat that he has given you kind of a dual vocational focus there. Yeah.
You said that being a chaplain makes you a better pastor. I'm curious, like, in what ways do you feel like you've developed as now a pastor, preacher, though I guess it's only been a few months since you've been back, but what would you say, like, how was the training overseas in terms of your deployment? How has that made you a better pastor?
Well, I think it's given me, you know, I've traveled overseas in the past, but to see the Middle East and spend that time there, and to see, it was very encouraging to see the remnant. There are godly people throughout the military. No matter where I went, I was finding fellowship in some of the most forward deployed areas where our military exists, and to see believers there, and to be worshiping with like kind of special forces surgeons, having a you know, like a Christmas communion with them. Yeah. In the middle of, like, the closest thing we had to combat at that time, right? And that opened my eyes up to the larger realm of Christendom, and bringing that back to our where we are here in Rock Springs. It just kind of expanded my vision for, like, for God's mission abroad. But the counseling opportunities is a big part of that. I think I'll bring a lot of that back to our particular congregation, you know, seeing a lot more, you know, we see a lot of ugliness in what the enemy brings into the church, but outside of the church as well. So I think that just brings a wealth of experience there. So.
That's good. I love that, man. Yeah. I kind of had a similar experience when Owen and I got to go down to South America, went to Colombia, and getting to see the church Catholic, like the universal church, and to realize, oh, okay, like God's kingdom is being expanded everywhere, and it's irrelevant to the Christian church in the United States of America, as if we are the center of it all. And I just was reminded, okay, God's people are all over this world.
Amen.
Yeah, that was a powerful kind of awakening moment for me too.
You know, it was even cool for me to think how we went to some pretty remote places and some remote tribes while we were there, and even the gospel had already been there far before us, and how God had moved people that to go forth carrying the good news. And so I just thought, man, that's really, really cool and eye-opening to that. I think there's a temptation among all Christians at one time to to have a very narrow focus
Yeah.
on God's working.
Absolutely.
And
That Elijah complex.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's good to take trips like that and
Yeah.
move out to see, wow, this is much bigger than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of going with that, Will, this is a super broad question, but was there anything, whether it's like a mindset or lessons learned, that you see either the church in the US or maybe our specific local body, however you would like to answer, but are there things that you're like, man, we need to do better in this, or maybe we need to think a little differently, or, you know, as that was a cool experience as far as just God kind of broadening some things in your own thinking. What can either our church or the church in the US, what are some areas you think we need some growth in?
Well, I think, you know, as you mentioned, the local church, I was highly impressed and reminded of the importance of the local church on this deployment, because though as a chaplain, you know, I was on a preaching rotation in the chapel, and I was doing some discipleship. The local church, I longed for our local church. We had a gathering, and we had a weekly gathering, but I don't think I would regard that as a local church. It's almost something like a parachurch ministry, right? And so I missed being amongst you all, my brothers, the accountability that's there, the mutual encouragement, the stirring one another up to love and good works. I had some chaplain brothers over there that met me in some dark places. You know, I needed them. So they were the church, as it were.
Right.
Universal, that I was able to make those individual connections with, but it's not really like a local church.
Right.
And so if we're doing something right here, it's that, like, I think we're doing it right when we really put an emphasis on the local church. And I think there's a large contingent of, you know, especially evangelicalism growing, and especially through like COVID and everything, where people do, you know, online church, and they don't have the fellowship. They don't have the accountability. They're not really plugged in. They're not exercising their spiritual gifts, and much to our shame, right? So that I just can't extol the value of the local church enough. I miss that more than anything.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's a good word.
Yeah, that is good.
If you came back, what would be one of the bigger changes that God did in you after coming back?
One of the themes that we had over there for all of us, because you have a lot of ideas of what a deployment's going to look like and what your life's going to look like. And our commander, Colonel Kingman, would always talk about managing expectations and the importance of that. And so I was helped in terms of doing that. Coming back home, managing my own expectations, coming back. You know, here my kids are, they're virtually a year older than when I left. Now, we stayed in contact like my predecessors, brothers and sisters in arms from ages past, didn't have the technology to stay connected like I did. But they still were different kids than when I left. And so I had to manage those expectations. And I heard dads who said that they left for the deployment and their name was Daddy, and they came back and it's Dad now. And so I was helped by some of my brothers to be like, you know, just take it easy. We have a saying in the military, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So just kind of take it slow when you come back home. Sometimes I get pretty wrapped around the axle with things like that. And I think the Lord really taught me to slow down a little bit and not get as excited about things so quickly.
That's good.
So, yeah.
It's really good.
So you spent, you know, was it 9 months overseas or was it?
Yeah. 9 months across the pond.
Yeah. Across the pond. And you obviously had time right before and then reintegration after, right? What are some stories, maybe just some interesting stories, things you witnessed that during your time overseas that you think are that you found either interesting, compelling, maybe you saw God's providence in it. What are some stories that you're allowed to share
Sure.
to our audience?
Sure. So one of my favorite stories was in Syria. I was in Syria a couple of times. The first time I was there was right during the time, some of your listeners may know about the fall of the Assad regime that took place late last year. I was literally going into the country at that time. And I thought for sure, well, with all that's going on, they're going to turn things around, postpone my trip. Nope. There I was. So it was pretty epic to be there as all that was going down. And so just, and that was right around Christmas time. So I got to have some really cool experiences on some rooftops of some buildings overlooking. I could see within eye shot there was the Euphrates River, and wow, pretty cool to have fellowship, to worship, be worshiping outside at sundown. There's the American flags flying, and but we're on high alert at the time. It was like my vision of what fully deployed chaplaincy is supposed to look like. That was the photo op.
Yeah, that was the moment.
Will.
Yeah.
Like that, that's etched in my memory for that first time in Syria. And then the second time in Syria, there's a certain forward operating base in which their chapel is actually the largest bunker on that operating base.
Oh.
And so soldiers like to go there just to hang out, because it is not only it was the largest bunker, it was the only place only bunker there that's air conditioned.
Yep.
So it's the chapel. It just doubles as chapel. And wow, I had opportunity to go out with another chaplain of mine, one of my senior chaplains, a brigade chaplain, and we were able to get some shawarma from outside the wire, just right outside the wire, and bring it back in and share that with soldiers, and buy them a meal, and then come back to the chapel, and there they are eating, and then I got to share a gospel message with
That's
them.
awesome.
We had people across the spectrum theologically in that setting, and that definitely a highlight. Another story. This is actually a
Shawarma and the gospel.
Yeah, shawarma and the gospel.
Shawarma.
Yeah, the message was. It's actually one I've preached in the at E-Free before. Dead dogs at the king's table.
Oh, yeah.
Mephibosheth.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Man.
yeah, that's another
awesome.
Key memory. Another one that was just kind of military, excites the folks out there that are fascinated by weaponry and aircraft and this kind of thing. We were on our way back from Syria to Iraq at one point, and we're going along. Everything's just fine. You're just taking in the vast landscape there of the Middle East, and you're looking at the buildings that are there. that many of them that take you back to kind of like what the first century could probably look like, and how do people live like this and whatever. And we knew that there's aggression in that particular neck of the woods pretty frequently, and there you have live gunners, door gunners and so forth, and they're scanning like this is real world stuff. And but all at once I look out one of the windows, and I just glance, and all of a sudden I see this flaming, what looks like some kind of a missile or something for a second, because I just see it kind of out of the corner of my eye as we're going along in this rotary wing aircraft. And I'm thinking, what is that? I thought that someone had maybe fired a missile at us or something. But then it happened again, and I realized I'd been in air defense artillery previously in my enlisted career. What that was is they were expending flares. I don't think that they were used because there was anyone trying to fire at us. I never did get an opportunity to talk to the pilots afterwards, but I thought we were cooked, because I see something come alongside us.
Yeah.
Wow.
And but really, I think what happened is they have to expend those flares they're called countermeasures, so that they take a heat signature. If there's a heat seeking weapon, it'll offset, and so the heat seeking missile or whatever will track those flares. But they have to go through those intermittently to use up their stock, as they get older or whatever, and replace those. But they did not warn us prior to leaving on that flight that would be taking place.
Wow.
The pucker factor was
I'm
high.
sure. Yes.
I'm sure. And, yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, and I'm sure it helps to deploy those countermeasures over areas that could be potentially hostile.
Yes.
Just to remind them, that we do have
We're
some
ready.
countermeasures.
Yeah,
So-
and there I've heard stories from others that had similar experiences to your point on Nathan, where they would they would fire off the machine guns without any prior warning, and
sure.
To that very end.
Let them see some tracer rounds
Yeah.
every now and again.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
A demotiv-
A show of force.
Is that a motivator or a demotivator?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I just thought incredibly providential, Will, was like it was shortly after your return that you then saw some really harsh conflict occur between Iran and the United States and Israel. And you had just missed like some missiles that were actually in the air. And I don't recall during your deployment, as I was monitoring the news, the friction as intense during the duration of your deployment. And then right as you returned, it heated up pretty quick. Are you still in contact with maybe some of those soldiers who are dealing with some of the harshness of those things?
Yeah, I definitely am. And it did get pretty spicy there once I got back. Very spicy. Spicier probably than my time there. But we actually did about a month and a half in. You'll remember the volley that went back and forth between Israel and Iran. There was one point at which Iran sent about 200 ballistic missiles up into the air. And so our folks saw those, we definitely bunkered up in the midst of that. And those were some eye-opening experiences. It's funny, when we bunkered up, especially people that were pretty new to the military, a lot of tears and stuff in those bunkers. There you are in what we call your kit, in your, in your tactical vest, and with the plates and so forth. And, you're just ready for the worst. You're in these fortified bunkers and whatever with the sandbags and the concrete and all the rest, and people crying, some people crying and very beside themselves. They've kind of made their last phone calls and this kind of thing. That was at the beginning, but by the end of the deployment,
Sure. Yeah.
that goes away pretty quickly. So it's not that they're just kind of blasé about it, still very professional and get to the bunkers when we're supposed to. But it's more kind of smoking and joking while you're in there. 'Cause what are you going to do?
Right.
And so, there's just a lot of jokes going on. It's very disarming there toward the end. It's not as sobering as when you first got there.
Yeah.
You probably experienced some of that on the force and fires.
I
and
can
this kind of
imagine
thing.
that. Yeah, once you're spun up, that it's not quite the same. Well, and like you said, because whether you're worried about it or not worried about it, doesn't change the possibilities at all. So
yeah,
I feel like it is a gripping experience though to come into contact with the potential of death. Like that's probably a frightening experience for soldiers and for anybody. I'm sure for Christians too, of course. But
did you come back with any type of of more acute focus on any specific area that you're like, all right, let's go, or is that just developing over time as you work back into pastoral ministry? Or was there anything specific that you're like a focus from God you felt like for this is something that I want to really?
I think more so the fact that I turned 50 in theater over there. One of the older soldiers, obviously, in our battalion, not the oldest, but I was definitely in the top 10,
50 years
5
young.
or 10. I think that more than anything gave me a sense of like, imminency that you know.
Mhm.
I've heard you say this, and this sticks with me, Nathan. We only get one shot at this.
Yeah.
And that was definitely brought home, and I think more so because I hit that half-century mark while I was away.
Sure.
So,
Wow.
Yeah.
It's awesome, man. I know that you have a nice beard you got
It
going
is.
on right
I
now.
like it. It's good.
But you weren't allowed to have that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or you had to be clean shaven. But you did grow your mustache a little
Did
bit.
grow
right?
the
Yeah,
stash.
did the stash.
my
Was it a
wife
handlebar?
it wasn't. Yeah, you can't do the handlebar.
Can't do that. Okay.
Has to be inside of the corners of your mouth. It can't touch the
Oh,
lip.
okay.
And people often joke that if you're doing it right in the military by the standards in the Army regulation, it looks like a Hitler stash. And especially if you have smaller lips.
Yep.
You know. And
Then you just
so
shave
it's
it.
kind of so
don't wanna
guys
run that
guys
risk.
either are wildly out of regulation, which you see a bit more of downrange, or they did have the Hitler stash.
Oh,
and mine was kind of riding that line, but it was the first time I'd really grown a mustache, and my wife did not like it. And
Not a
so
fan.
she said that she felt as though she was married to her father-in-law. And
Never a good situation.
that wasn't going to stand.
No.
So.
Tell me about the decision to grow the mustache. Were you just like, well, might as well?
Well, everyone's
Or were
doing
you-
it over there.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
one of
Yeah,
that's a
it's a
deployment thing. It's like, let's grow them.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And,
Wow.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a competition. Our battalion executive officer can grow a mustache like no one I've ever seen. It's like Miracle Grow on his upper lip. It's,
I don't know if that's really like a gift
Of
or not a
gifting or-
gift. Like,
it's very masculine.
It's a blessing
though,
and a
right?
curse.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
it's a coveted ability
Yeah.
Among the
Yeah.
Joes.
Within
you know?
certain niche industries.
Oh, for sure.
Remarkable.
100%.
Yeah.
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 That's funny.
That's
Will.
funny. Man.
Man.
Well, thank you so much, Will. I mean, this has been so fun to talk about some of these things and for you to share some of your experiences, man. It's been cool to like live your experience through some of the stories. You know, we weren't there with you, though we did get the chance to have some communication with you, but it's really cool now to see in hindsight the perspective, you know, as things have happened. You kind of get to see God's hand of providence in it and rejoice in the story that God told in this deployment. Because initially it was sad news, you know, with you having to tell us. And I think it was a little bit of a surprise even too.
Was. Mm-hmm.
And so that was hard for us to initially hear, but we trust. We're not just going to be theorists in terms of saying God is sovereign and we trust him, right? We have to sometimes put that to practice. And this was, I'm sure, a broadening of our view of God's sovereignty.
Amen.
I'm sure for your experience,
Really,
but I can just see now in hindsight, as you've told these stories and how you get to share the gospel with soldiers and you get to be the counselor, de facto counselor, right? For some of these men. I'm sure you were used invaluably, and the fruits of your ministry, I'm sure, will redound to future generations. And in eternity, we'll get to maybe see how deep it went and the glory that God brought about from it. So,
well, I'm just grateful, man, for your prayers. My wife, I got to listen to some episodes, and I caught up once I got back. But my wife would tell me how you guys would continuously pray, obviously in your homes and at church,
Absolutely.
but also as the Shadowcast crew as well. And so I'm so grateful for your intercession. As you mentioned, as we talked about before, you guys are a very deep preaching well. And there are other men that I intend to recognize as well. But we started the episode off with some gifts, and I brought some gifts for you men.
Oh, man.
You're maybe familiar with the challenge coin. I had some coins made for the deployment here that feature one of the HIMARS artillery rocket systems here. And I have on there 2 Corinthians 5:21 gospel passage there, my favorite. And it's got the bucking horse, the Powder River patch on there for the 2/300th Field Artillery Regiment, the Latin cross of the chaplain, Prodeo et Patria, the insignia for the Army chaplaincy, and then on the other side, what's usually a cross cannons, where one cannon crossed with a lightning bolt for Task Force Lightning, and it's got Operation Spartan Shield, Operation Inherent Resolve, Task Force Lightning, 2nd and 300 Field Artillery Regiment, HIMARS. And so, Preston, thank you, brother. I appreciate your ministry and your support. Brother Nathan, God bless you. So grateful
Man,
for you. And Owen,
thank you.
God bless you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you guys so much.
This
Thank
will be
you, thank you.
cherished. This is truly
Yes.
awesome.
This is an honor, Will.
Yeah.
Thank
It
you,
is.
Pastor.
Thank you, fellas.
Truly is.
Man, I don't know about you, but it's been a blessing to me just to see how God has used you and your reach, that God has used you as an instrument of his grace to many people. And he
Amen.
continues to do that. And I hopefully our listeners have been as blessed as I have. I know I've been so encouraged to see your example, hear about you and your ministry, faithful ministry while abroad. And then to see you just jump back in here has been a huge blessing for me. So thank you for being willing to come on the show and bless others as
It's
well.
my joy and my honor, man.
Yeah, it's been one of the highest honors in the world to get to co-labor with you as kind of a pastor team. Man, it's been so wonderful. Initially, when you were deployed, and then I became a pastor at our church, I was like, Lord, this is a weird timing of things.
Mm-hmm.
But even in God, I saw the wisdom of God in that actually too. Yeah. Like he had sent you away for a reason. Mm-hmm. And then it was just such a wonderful thing to have you back and to get to co-labor with you. It's such a wonderful gift that I think God has given me in particular. So just grateful, brother.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for listening to the Shadowcast episode, and hopefully in its exhortation to everyone to say, wherever God has you in the field of ministry, do it to the glory of God and do it well, do it with excellence. Yeah. Until then, join us for our next episode. Have a good night.
God bless.
Good night.
God bless.
Send us a message at feedback@shadowcastradio.com.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Check us out at shadowcastradio.com.